The emergency alarm echoed through the Galactic Council chambers for the first time in 300 years. Ambassador Thalvix watched as representatives from 43 different species hurried to their seats. His crystalline body reflected the red warning lights that pulsed across the massive circular room. Something terrible had happened, something that required every member of the council to gather immediately. War Master Kroll stood at the center platform, his scaled hands gripping the edges of the podium. The reptilian commander looked tired. His usual proud posture was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. Thalvix had known Kroll for 20 years and had never seen him look this way. "The Vorthul Empire has won," Kroll said simply. His voice carried no emotion, just cold fact. "They have released the Crimson Scourge." The chamber erupted in panic. Species that never showed fear were shouting. Some representatives tried to leave immediately. Thalvix felt his internal fluids freeze. The Crimson Scourge. He had hoped it was just a rumor, a story the Vorthul told to scare their enemies. But the look on Kroll's face said it was real. 17 species are already gone, Kroll continued when the room finally quieted. Complete extinction in less than a month. The weapon adapts to everything we throw at it. Every cure we develop becomes useless within hours. It spreads through air, water, physical contact, and even vacuum exposure. There is no containment. There is no cure. Thalvix tried to process this information. 17 species gone, just like that. His own people, the crystalline hives, numbered in the billions across 12 worlds. Could they all be dead within weeks? A human voice spoke from the back of the chamber. "Sorry, excuse me, coming through?" The voice sounded casual, almost bored. Thalvix turned to see a human in a simple brown jacket making his way down the aisle. The human was carrying cargo manifests and sneezing into a tissue. "This is a closed emergency session," Kroll growled at the human. "How did you get in here?" "I'm Captain Jinho Park," the human said, wiping his nose. "I have a delivery for Ambassador Thalvix. Medical supplies from the outer colonies. Your security let me in because the ambassador said it was urgent." He sneezed again, louder this time. "Sorry, my allergies are killing me today." Thalvix felt embarrassed. He had ordered those supplies weeks ago and forgotten about them. Yes, just leave them by my station, Captain. We are in the middle of a crisis." Jinho shrugged and walked over to Thalvix's seat, placing 3 containers on the floor. "No problem. Hey, is this about that red cloud thing in the Vorthul sector? I passed through there 3 days ago on my route. Crazy stuff. My cargo hold had this weird red dust all over it when I stopped at Station 7. Every eye in the chamber turned to the human. Kroll moved faster than Thalvix had ever seen him move. The War Master was suddenly standing in front of Jinho, staring down at the smaller human. "You passed through the quarantine zone?" Kroll's voice was barely a whisper. 3 days ago." "Yeah," Jinho said, looking confused by all the attention. "Is that bad?" "Nobody stopped me. I mean, there were some warning buoys, but my translator made it sound like construction warnings or something." He sneezed again. "Man, whatever they're growing out there is really setting off my sinuses." Dr. Hanacho jumped up from her seat in the human section. She was the only other human in the chamber, a xenobiologist who worked as a consultant for the council. "Captain Park, have you experienced any other symptoms? Fever, pain, difficulty breathing?" Jinho thought about it. "My eyes have been itchy, and I've been sneezing a lot. But that's normal for me this time of year. Space pollen or whatever." "Space doesn't have pollen," Hana said. She was already pulling out a medical scanner from her bag. "Stand still, please." The scanner in Hana's hand beeped once, then twice, then began beeping rapidly. Her face went pale as she looked at the readings. "Ambassador Thalvix, I need full quarantine protocols activated now." "Right now." The alarm that sounded this time was different, louder, more urgent. Metal barriers began sliding down over the exits. Atmospheric seals engaged with a hiss. The chamber was locked down in seconds. "What's happening?" Jinho asked, still looking more confused than concerned. Hana held up her scanner so everyone could see the display. "Captain Park is carrying active Crimson Scourge pathogens. His entire body is covered in them. He should be dead." The chamber went silent. Then chaos exploded. Representatives were scrambling away from Jinho, pressing themselves against the walls. Some were crying. Others were trying to break through the sealed doors. Thalvix felt his survival instinct screaming at him to run, but there was nowhere to go. Jinho looked down at himself. "I feel fine. A bit sneezy, but fine." "That's impossible," Kroll said. The War Master had backed away too, his hand on his weapon. The scourge kills within hours. You've been exposed for 3 days. I'm telling you, I just have allergies, Jinho insisted. He pulled out a small bottle from his pocket. See, antihistamines. I take them every spring. Hana was staring at her scanner like it had betrayed her. The readings don't make sense. The scourge is active. It's attacking his cells, but his immune system is treating it like a minor irritant. His histamine levels are elevated, but that's the only abnormal reading. Histamine? Thalvix asked. He knew human biology reasonably well, but this term was unfamiliar in this context. It's part of the human immune response, Hana explained, still staring at the scanner. When humans encounter allergens, their bodies release histamine. It causes sneezing, itching, watery eyes. It's extremely uncomfortable, but not dangerous. And somehow that response is neutralizing the scourge. That's impossible, Kroll repeated. The scourge was designed to defeat any immune system in the galaxy. 300 years of research went into making it unstoppable. Jinho sneezed again, very loudly. Everyone flinched. Look, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like I always do during allergy season. Annoyed and tired, but not dying. Hana made a decision. She pulled a full hazard suit from the emergency locker and began putting it on. Everyone stay back. I'm going to run more tests. This could be the most important medical discovery in galactic history. Or it could be a trap, Kroll warned. The Vorthul could have engineered this somehow. The Vorthul hate humans, Hana said from inside her suit. They barely acknowledge we exist. There's no way they designed their superweapon around human biology. She approached Jinho carefully. Captain Park, I need to take you to the medical bay. Is that okay? Sure, Jinho said. Can I get something for these allergies, though? I'm really uncomfortable. As Hana led Jinho toward the medical wing of the council chambers, Thalvix watched through the transparent walls. A human was walking around, casually carrying the deadliest bioweapon in galactic history, complaining about being itchy. Thalvix looked at Kroll. The War Master looked back. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Finally, Kroll said what they were both thinking. Humans evolved on a death world. We all knew that. But maybe we didn't really understand what that meant until now. Thalvix nodded slowly. Humanity had been part of the galactic community for 50 years. They were seen as tough, adaptable, a bit crazy. But this was something else entirely. This was a level of biological resilience that shouldn't be possible. In the medical bay, visible through the observation window, Jinho was sitting on an examination table. He sneezed again and asked Hana if she had any tissues. She handed him an entire box while her instrument scanned him from every angle. The galaxy's perfect weapon had met Earth's imperfect immune system. And somehow, impossibly, the weapon was losing. The quarantine facility on Pinnacle Station was designed to contain the most dangerous biological threats in the galaxy. It had 30 layers of atmospheric filtration, walls made from molecularly sealed titanium, and enough backup systems to survive a direct nuclear strike. Right now, all of that technology was focused on keeping one sneezing human inside a transparent isolation chamber. Captain Jinho Park sat on a medical bed looking bored. He had been in quarantine for 6 hours. Outside the chamber, behind reinforced barriers and protective fields, dozens of alien scientists watched him like he was a bomb that might explode at any moment. Can I at least get something to read? Jinho called out. His voice came through speakers built into the walls. Or a game. Anything? Dr. Hana Cho stood closest to the chamber, still wearing her full hazard suit. She had not left since bringing Jinho here. We need you to stay still, Captain. Every movement you make releases more pathogens into the air. I've been still for 6 hours, Jinho complained. My back hurts, and I'm still sneezy. As if to prove his point, he sneezed 3 times in rapid succession. The monitoring equipment around the chamber went crazy, detecting millions of crimson scourge particles being released into the sealed air. Commander Vex, a being made entirely of living silicon, studied the readings with what might have been fascination or horror. It was hard to tell with silicon-based life forms. The concentration of active scourge particles in that chamber would kill 3,000 of my people instantly. Yet the human sits there complaining about back pain. It's really uncomfortable, Jinho said, apparently able to hear them. Do you know how annoying it is to sneeze every 5 minutes for 6 hours straight? A door at the far end of the observation room opened. Everyone turned to see 3 more humans enter. The lead human was older, maybe in his mid-40s, carrying several large cases of equipment. Behind him were two younger humans in medical uniforms. "I'm Dr. Minho Kang from Earth Medical Research," the older human announced. "This is Nurse Yuna Lee and Technician Daehyun Shin. We came as soon as we heard about Captain Park's situation." War Master Kroll, who had been watching from the back of the room, stepped forward. "You should not be here. The scourge is highly contagious." "We're human," Minho said simply, as if that explained everything. "If Jinho can survive it, we probably can too. Besides, you need someone who actually understands human biology." He walked up to the observation window and waved at Jinho. "Hey, Captain. How are you feeling?" "Sneezy," Jinho called back. "And bored." Minho smiled and turned to Hana. "Dr. Cho, may I see your scan data?" Hana hesitated, then transferred the information to a nearby display. Minho studied it silently for several minutes. His expression changed from curious to surprised to something like understanding. "This is fascinating," he said finally. "The scourge is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's attacking his cells, trying to break them down. But his immune system is treating the whole thing like hay fever." "Hay fever?" Ambassador Thalvix asked. He had also stayed to watch, unable to look away from this impossible situation. "An allergic reaction to plant pollen," Minho explained. "Very common in humans. Uncomfortable but not dangerous. What's happening is that Jinho's immune system recognizes the scourge as a foreign irritant, so it releases histamines to flush it out. Sneezing, watery eyes, itching, all designed to expel the irritant. But the scourge adapts, Kroll argued. It learns to overcome any biological defense." "That's the beautiful part," Minho said, warming to his explanation. "The scourge is trying to adapt. But human histamine responses are chaotic. They're not actually designed to fight pathogens. They're just an overreaction to foreign particles. The scourge keeps trying to counter a targeted defense, but what it's facing is basically biological noise. It's like trying to fight static." Yuna Lee, the nurse, spoke up. "Dr. Kang, are you saying we could all survive exposure?" "Only one way to find out," Minho said. Before anyone could stop her, Yuna walked to the chamber's entrance. "Wait," Hana shouted. "You can't go in there." "Yes, I can," Yuna said calmly. "I volunteer." She opened the first airlock door. Kroll moved to stop her, but Minho held up a hand. "Let her go. She knows what she's doing. And besides, we need to test this." Yuna stepped through 3 airlock doors and entered the chamber with Jinho. She was not wearing any protective gear, just her normal medical uniform. Every alien in the observation room watched in stunned silence. "Hey," Jinho said, looking relieved to see another person. "Thanks for coming in. It's been lonely." "No problem," Yuna said. She pulled out a tissue from her pocket and handed it to him. "You look like you need this." They sat together, 2 humans in a chamber filled with enough deadly pathogens to sterilize a planet. Yuna pulled out a small medical kit and began taking Jinho's vital signs the old-fashioned way, with physical instruments. "Blood pressure is normal," she called out to the observers. "Heart rate is normal. Temperature is slightly elevated, but within human parameters for mild illness." "How are you not terrified?" Thalvix asked through the speakers. Yuna looked up at the window and smiled. "I had worse flu last winter. If Jinho can handle this, so can I." The observers watched and waited. 1 hour passed, then 2. Yuna began sneezing around the 90-minute mark. By hour 3, both humans were sitting on the medical bed, sneezing in turns and comparing who had it worse. "My eyes are so itchy," Yuna complained. "At least you're not getting the post-nasal drip," Jinho countered. Minho was laughing quietly at the observation window. "They're complaining about allergy symptoms while carrying a super weapon. This is the most human thing I've ever seen." Hana was studying her scanners with intense focus. "The scourge is trying to adapt. I can see it mutating in real time. But every time it develops a new attack pattern, their immune systems just respond with more histamine. It's not elegant. It's not efficient. But it's working." "This makes no sense from an evolutionary perspective," Commander Vex said. "Why would humans develop such an aggressive response to minor irritants?" "Because Earth is a nightmare," Minho said bluntly. "Our planet has millions of species of plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria, all competing for resources. Human immune systems learn to overreact to everything, because the cost of underreacting was death. We get allergies because our bodies assume every foreign particle might be dangerous. So the same mechanism that makes you sneeze at flowers makes you immune to our deadliest weapon," Kroll said slowly. Basically, yes, Minho agreed. The Vorthol spent 300 years engineering the perfect killer. But they engineered it for normal species. They didn't account for humans, who are basically walking biological warfare machines turned against themselves. Inside the chamber, Jinho sneezed so hard he nearly fell off the bed. Yuna caught him and they both started laughing. "This is insane," Thalvik said. 17 species extinct. Billions dead. And humans think it's funny. "They're not laughing at the deaths," Hana said quietly. "They're laughing because they're uncomfortable and scared, and humor helps them cope. It's a very human trait." Minho began setting up his equipment. "We need to start collecting samples. If human immune response can neutralize the scourge, we might be able to synthesize a cure." "You want to create a cure from human biology?" Kroll asked. "Unless you have a better idea," Minho replied. "The way I see it, humanity just became the galaxy's best hope for survival. Now we need to figure out how to share that immunity with everyone else." In the chamber, Yuna was explaining to Jinho about different types of antihistamines. They discussed which brands worked best as if they were comparing coffee preferences. Around them, the crimson scourge particles floated harmlessly, unable to do what they were designed for. The galaxy's perfect weapon had met its perfect counter. And that counter was sneezing. The Galactic Council's war room looked different now. Maps of infected systems covered every wall, each red zone marking worlds where the crimson scourge had spread. 3 weeks had passed since Jinho's discovery. In that time, 4 more species had gone extinct. The red zones were growing faster than anyone had predicted. Colonel Doyen Choi stood at attention before the council assembly. He was a human military officer, sent by Earth to discuss options. Next to him stood Dr. Minho Kang, who had not slept in 3 days based on the dark circles under his eyes. "You want to send humans into the infected zones?" Ambassador Thalvik said. It was not a question. Humans who will inevitably carry the scourge with them wherever they go. "Controlled carriers," Minho corrected. "We've tested this extensively. Humans can carry the scourge without dying. Our presence actually destabilizes the pathogen. When it tries to adapt to human immune systems, it wastes energy and resources on a target it cannot effectively kill." War Master Kroll studied the proposal on his datapad. "You want us to approve sending thousands of your people to plague worlds. What if something goes wrong? What if the scourge adapts to humans?" "It's been trying to adapt for 3 weeks, Doyen said. "Every human we've exposed has experienced the same result. Allergy symptoms for a few days, then full recovery. The scourge can't figure us out." "There are ethical concerns," a crystalline ambassador said. "Is Earth's government forcing these volunteers? Are they being coerced?" "Show them," Doyen said to Minho. Minho activated a holographic display. It showed a massive crowd of humans gathered at a spaceport on Earth. The crowd was enormous, thousands of people holding signs and cheering. "This footage is from yesterday," Minho explained. "That's the volunteer line for the relief mission. We asked for 500 people. 20,000 showed up. We had to turn most of them away." The council members watched in stunned silence as the hologram played. Humans of all ages, waving and smiling, boarding transport ships. Many were making jokes. Some were passing around boxes of tissues like they were party supplies. "Why?" Thalvik asked. "Why would so many volunteer for something so dangerous?" Doyen smiled. "Because that's what humans do. When someone needs help, we help, even if it means being uncomfortable for a few days." The vote was called. After an hour of debate, the council approved the human relief mission by a narrow margin. Some species still feared what this might mean. But fear of extinction was stronger than fear of humans. 3 days later, the first human relief ship arrived at Velcor Prime, a world that had been completely overrun by the scourge. The planet's surface was covered in a red haze. Nothing lived there anymore. The entire population of 7 billion Velcorians had died within a week. Captain Jinho Park stepped off the landing ramp, breathing in the toxic air through a basic filter mask. The mask wasn't to protect him from the scourge. It was to filter out the dust and ash from all the dead organic matter. Behind him, 50 human volunteers emerged from the ship. "This place is depressing," Jinho said, looking at the dead city around them. "Let's get to work." The volunteers split into teams. Each team carried medical supplies and containers of human blood plasma. The plasma had been specially treated with antibodies from humans who had been exposed to the scourge. It was not a cure exactly, but it helped. On the 3rd moon of Velcor Prime, there was a refugee station. 500 Velkorians had escaped there before the main planet fell, but the scourge had followed them. Now they were dying too, trapped in sealed habitats with no hope. Jinho's team reached the refugee station after 6 hours of travel. The station's commander, a Velkorian named Thex, greeted them through a sealed door. He would not open it. "You are human," Thex said through the communication system. "You carry the scourge. I detected it on my sensors." "We do," Jinho admitted, "but we're here to help. Please let us in." "How can you help if you carry death?" Thex demanded. "Because we're not dying," Jinho said patiently. He pulled off his filter mask and took a deep breath of scourge-filled air. "See, just allergies." He sneezed to demonstrate. Thex watched through the door's camera. "This is a trick." A small Velkorian child appeared behind Thex. The child was clearly sick, their skin had turned dark with infection. The child looked at Jinho with large, terrified eyes. "Please," the child whispered. "I don't want to die." Jinho knelt down so he was at eye level with the camera. "Let us help. What do you have to lose?" Thex was silent for a long moment. Then the door opened. The medical bay inside the station was full of dying Velkorians. Jinho and his team moved quickly, administering plasma treatments to the sickest patients first. The little child who had spoken earlier was taken to a bed. Yuna Lee, who had volunteered for this mission, started the child's treatment personally. "This will feel cold," Yuna said gently as she connected the plasma drip. "But it will help. I promise." The child looked up at her. "Why are you helping us? You don't know us." "Because you need help," Yuna said simply. "That's reason enough." Over the next 6 hours, something remarkable happened. The Velkorians who received plasma treatments began to stabilize. Their symptoms stopped getting worse. Some even began to improve slightly. Dr. Minho arrived with the second wave of volunteers and immediately began studying the results. "It's working better than I hoped. The human antibodies are teaching their immune systems how to recognize the scourge as a manageable threat instead of an overwhelming one." But the most interesting discovery came from a volunteer named Sora Kim, an agricultural specialist who was helping to scan the station's environment. She noticed something strange in the atmospheric readings. "Dr. Kang, you need to see this," Sora called out. "The scourge concentration in this station is dropping." Minho checked the readings himself. "That's impossible. The scourge doesn't just disappear. It is when we're here," Sora said. She pointed at the data. "Look at the timeline. The concentration started dropping the moment we entered the station. Our presence is affecting it." Another team member, Tech Officer Ji-won Nam, was already analyzing the pattern on his portable computer. "I think I understand what's happening. The scourge is trying to adapt to us, but every human has a slightly different immune system. Different allergies, different reactions. It's trying to adapt to all of us at once, and it can't keep up. It's spreading its resources too thin." "So we're confusing it to death," Jinho said. "Basically, yes," Ji-won confirmed. "The more humans in an area, the more confused the scourge becomes. It's still trying to kill us, but it's failing so badly that it's destabilizing." The news spread quickly through the relief network. More human ships arrived at infected worlds. More volunteers stepped onto dead planets with nothing but filter masks and determination, and wherever they went, the scourge began to weaken. On the command ship high above Velkor Prime, representatives from several species watched the reports come in. They saw humans walking through plague zones, carrying sick aliens to safety. They saw human medical teams working around the clock, treating patients while sneezing constantly. "They are either the bravest species in the galaxy," one ambassador said, "or the craziest. Why not both?" Another replied. Back in the refugee station, the little Velkorian child opened their eyes. The dark infection marks on their skin were fading. Yuna Lee was sitting nearby reading a book while occasionally sneezing into a tissue. "Are you sick?" the child asked weakly. "Just allergies," Yuna said with a smile. "How do you feel?" "Better," the child said. Then hesitantly, "Thank you." "You're welcome," Yuna said. "Get some rest. You're going to be okay." The child reached out a small hand. Yuna took it gently. In that moment, in a refugee station on the edge of space, surrounded by the galaxy's deadliest weapon, a human and an alien child held hands. Above them, Thex watched from the command center. He had lost his entire world to the scourge. He had thought nothing could stop it. But now humans were here, sneezing and complaining about being uncomfortable, and his people were surviving. They would do this for us, Thek said quietly to himself. Even though we are strangers, they would come here and suffer through allergies to save us. He activated his communication system and sent a message to the council. The message was simple. Send more humans. They are winning. Emperor Vorthain sat on his throne, watching reports that made no sense. The Crimson Scourge was failing. Not everywhere. Not completely. But it was failing. And the reason was impossible to accept. Humans, he said, the word tasting bitter. Tell me again how the humans are stopping our greatest weapon. His chief scientist, a Vorthul named Drachmon, stood before him with his head bowed. They carry the scourge but do not die from it, Emperor. Their immune systems treat it as a minor irritant. Where humans go, the scourge becomes unstable and loses effectiveness. How is this possible? Vorthain demanded. 300 years of research. The scourge was designed to kill everything. The humans are not like anything we studied, Drachmon said carefully. Their biology is chaotic, aggressive. Their immune systems attack their own bodies regularly. We have reports of humans dying from simple plant particles because their immune systems overreact. Yet this same overreaction protects them from the scourge. Vorthain slammed his fist on the throne's armrest. Then we adapt. Create a new version. Design it specifically to kill humans. Emperor, the council will see this as an act of war against humanity. They should have thought of that before they sent humans to ruin our victory. Vorthain stood, his robes flowing around him. We will not be defeated by creatures who sneeze. Begin work immediately. I want a weapon that will kill every human in the galaxy. Drachmon bowed and left. He knew arguing was useless when the Emperor was in this mood. 6 weeks later, the Crimson Scourge Omega was ready. Drachmon had personally overseen its development. The new variant was engineered using captured human genetic samples. It was designed to specifically target human immune responses and overwhelm them. It will cause severe illness in humans, Drachmon reported to the Emperor. Our projections suggest a mortality rate of 80% within 1 week. Good, Vorthain said. Deploy it at the human relief station in Sector 9. I want the galaxy to see what happens to those who interfere with the Vorthul Empire. The attack came without warning. A Vorthul stealth ship released Crimson Scourge Omega at Relief Station Gamma, a human-operated facility that was treating refugee populations from 6 different species. 300 humans were stationed there. Among them was a young volunteer named Taiho Song. He was 20 years old, taking a year off from university to help with the relief effort. He was in the station's cafeteria when the alarm sounded. Biological attack detected, the computer announced. Unknown variant. All personnel to medical immediately. Taiho ran to the medical bay with the others. Captain Minji Han, the station's security chief, was already there with Dr. Kyung Bae, the head medical officer. Seal all sections, Minji ordered. Nobody in or out until we know what we're dealing with. But it was too late. The Omega variant spread through the station's air system within minutes. Taiho felt it almost immediately. This was different from the regular scourge. This actually hurt. He collapsed along with 30 other humans. The pain was intense. Fever spiked. Breathing became difficult. For the first time since humans had encountered the scourge, they were actually getting seriously sick. Get them on support systems, Dr. Kyung shouted. This variant is targeting humans specifically. The next 48 hours were terrifying. The entire station watched as humans who had walked through plague zones without fear lay in medical beds fighting for their lives. The alien refugees that humans had saved now watched helplessly, unable to help their saviors. But then something unexpected happened. On the 3rd day, Taiho opened his eyes. The fever was gone. The pain was gone. He felt weak and tired but alive. How do you feel? Dr. Kyung asked, scanning him with every instrument available. Like I had the worst flu of my life, Taiho said, his voice rough. But I'm okay. I think I'm okay. One by one, the other infected humans began to recover. By the end of week 1, all of them were on their feet, weak, tired, but alive. The mortality rate was not 80%. It was 0%. Dr. Kyung studied the results with disbelief. The Omega variant did make them sick, much sicker than the original scourge, but their immune systems adapted after the initial shock. They developed antibodies. Now they're immune to this variant too. So the Vorthul made it worse for us and we survived anyway. Minji said. Not just survived, Dr. Kyung said, looking at something on his screen. The Omega variant that passed through human systems has mutated. It's lost almost all of its lethality. It's become essentially harmless. News of the failed attack spread quickly. Captain Minji led a strike team to trace where the Omega variant had come from. They followed the trail back to a Vorthol research station on the edge of their territory. The strike team consisted of 12 humans and support from 4 alien species who had volunteered to help. They found the research station abandoned. Or so they thought. Dr. Kyung, who had joined the team, found scientists still inside. They were dying. The Vorthol researchers were infected with their own weapon. Help us, one Vorthol scientist begged. Please, we made a mistake. Dr. Kyung's face was hard. You tried to kill us. You designed this specifically to kill humans. We know, the scientist said, and we are sorry. But please, we do not want to die. Kyung looked at Minji. She looked back at him. They both knew what needed to be done, even if they did not like it. Get the plasma ready, Kyung ordered. We treat them. Are you sure? Minji asked. We're human, Kyung said simply. We help people who need help, even people who tried to kill us. As they treated the Vorthol scientists, Dr. Kyung discovered something alarming. The Omega variant had mutated after passing through human immune systems. But it had mutated in a specific way. It no longer recognized Vorthol biology as something to preserve. The original scourge had been designed to never harm the Vorthol. But this new version had adapted to see humans as the dominant species. Everything else, including the Vorthol themselves, was now a target. Your weapon thinks humans are the baseline now, Dr. Kyung explained to the terrified scientists. It adapted to see us as the primary species to survive. That makes you alien to it. You're experiencing what everyone else experienced when you first released this thing. The lead Vorthol scientist, named Thalkor, looked at the human, treating him with shame and horror. We created something we could not control. We thought we were so clever, so advanced. But you humans, with your allergies and your chaos, you broke our perfect weapon. Back on the Vorthol homeworld, Emperor Vorthane received reports of what was happening. His scientists were dying. The Omega variant was spreading through Vorthol space, now targeting his own people, and the only ones who could help were the humans he had tried to kill. His advisors begged him to ask for human aid. He refused. Day after day, the plague spread through Vorthol worlds. Day after day, his people died, and day after day, humans sent messages offering to help if he would just ask. Pride would not let him ask. Pride kept him on his throne even as the palace staff began to fall sick. Pride kept him silent even when he felt the first symptoms himself. When his advisors found him 3 days later, Emperor Vorthane was barely conscious. The infection had spread through his entire body. He was dying from his own creation. Bring the humans, his chief advisor commanded. No, Vorthane whispered. I will not be saved by lesser creatures. Then you will die, the advisor said. And you will deserve it. Emperor Vorthane died that night, too proud to accept help from the species he had looked down on. But his people were not so proud. By the next morning, the Vorthol government formally requested human assistance. Relief ships arrived within days. Human volunteers, including Taeho, who had barely recovered from his own infection, stepped onto Vorthol worlds to help the species that had tried to kill them. A young Vorthol child, sick with the Omega variant, looked up at Taeho as he administered plasma treatment. Why do you help us? We tried to hurt you. Taeho smiled even though he was still tired from his own illness. Because you're sick and we can help. That's all that matters, the child did not understand. But maybe someday they would. 1 year had passed since the Crimson Scourge crisis ended. The Galactic Council chambers looked the same as always, but everything else had changed. Today was special. Today, humanity would officially join the Council as a permanent member. Ambassador Jinho Park stood in the preparation room, adjusting his formal clothes. He was not a captain anymore. After everything that happened, Earth had promoted him to ambassador. He still found it funny. A year ago, he had been making cargo deliveries and complaining about his allergies. Now he was about to address the entire galactic community. Nervous? Dr. Hanacho asked. She was his assistant now, helping humanity establish proper diplomatic relationships. Terrified, Jinho admitted. I'm much better at flying ships than making speeches. You'll do fine, Hana said. Just be yourself. That's what they need to see. In the main chamber, Representatives from all 43 member species waited, plus the Vortol who were here as observers. They were not members yet. That would take time and a lot of apologies. War Master Kroll called the session to order. Today, we welcome humanity as the 44th permanent member of the Galactic Council. Ambassador Jinho Park will now address the assembly. Jinho walked to the central platform. He carried a small box with him. As he climbed the steps, he felt his nose start to itch. Of course, of all the times to have allergies. He reached the podium and looked out at the assembled species. So many different forms of life, all watching him. He pulled a tissue from his pocket and sneezed into it, loudly. Several ambassadors flinched. Even after a year, they still reacted like that when humans sneezed. "Sorry," Jinho said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Allergies." There was a moment of silence. Then, surprisingly, a few species made sounds that might have been laughter. "Honorable members of the council," Jinho began. "1 year ago, I walked into this chamber carrying the deadliest weapon in galactic history and complaining about being sneezy. I had no idea that moment would change everything." He paused, looking around the room. "Humanity did not set out to be heroes. We are not special. We are not superior. We just evolved on a planet that really did not want us to survive. Earth is a difficult place. Our immune systems learned to treat everything as a threat, because everything was a threat. Plants, animals, bacteria, even the air during certain seasons. We developed allergies as a defense mechanism. It makes us uncomfortable, but it keeps us alive." Ambassador Thalvix was listening carefully. He had survived the scourge only because human volunteers had reached his colony world in time. When the Crimson Scourge came, Jinho continued, it was designed to be perfect, unstoppable. But it was designed for normal species with normal immune systems. It was not designed for humans who are basically walking disasters of biological overreaction. More sounds of amusement from the audience. Humans had a strange way of making fun of themselves. Over the past year, we have worked with all of you to ensure the scourge is completely eliminated. We have shared our medical research. We have trained alien doctors in human immune system responses. We have done this because it was the right thing to do. Not because we wanted power or recognition, just because people needed help. He held up the small box he had brought. This is a box of tissues. It is a gift from Earth to the Council. A reminder that sometimes the solution to impossible problems is not strength or intelligence or technology. Sometimes it is just surviving through discomfort and helping others do the same. He placed the box on the podium. Humanity accepts membership in this council with honor and humility. We promise to work with all species to build a safer galaxy. We will share our knowledge. We will offer our help, and we will probably sneeze a lot while doing it. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then Ambassador Thalvix stood. He began a slow, rhythmic gesture that was the crystalline equivalent of applause. One by one, other species joined in with their own expressions of approval. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Species mingled, discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Jinho found himself talking to Premier Subin Yu, Earth's highest-ranking diplomatic official. "You did well," Subin said, "though I wish you had prepared a more formal speech." "Formal speeches are not really my thing," Jinho said. He sneezed again. "Seriously, what is blooming in this station? My allergies are terrible today." "That would be the alluvian crystal flowers," a small voice said. Jinho looked down to see a young Velcorian child standing next to him. It was the same child from the refugee station, now healthy and serving as a junior diplomat. "Aaron," Jinho said with genuine pleasure. "Look at you in official robes." "Look at you as an ambassador," Aaron replied with a smile. "Who would have thought?" They talked for a while, catching up. Aaron told Jinho about returning to their homeworld, which was slowly being rebuilt. Jinho told Aaron about Earth and promised to arrange a visit. Across the room, Dr. Hana was deep in conversation with Dr. Minho and Nurse Yuna. They were discussing the new medical academy they were establishing. It would be the first institution dedicated to teaching human and alien doctors how to work together. "We have applications from 15 species already," Yuna said excitedly. "They want to understand human medicine. Some even want to study allergies specifically." "A year ago, they were terrified of us," Minho said. "Now they want to learn from us. It's remarkable." Not everyone was celebrating. In a quiet corner, the Vortol observer sat alone. His name was Drachmon, the scientist who had helped create the scourge. He had survived the Omega variant thanks to human treatment, but the guilt weighed on him. Jinho noticed him sitting alone and walked over. Drakmon looked up in surprise as the human ambassador approached. "May I sit?" Jinho asked. "You should not waste your time on me," Drakmon said. "I am responsible for billions of deaths." "I know," Jinho said, sitting anyway. "But you are also trying to make things right. That counts for something." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Drakmon asked, "How can you forgive what we did? We tried to kill you. We tried to kill everyone." Jinho thought about it. "I do not think I can forgive it. Not completely. What happened was terrible. But holding on to anger does not help anyone. Your emperor already paid for his pride with his life. Your people are suffering. At some point we have to decide if we want revenge or if we want to build something better." "Humans are strange," Drakmon said. "You are so willing to help even when you have every reason not to." "We are not saints," Jinho said. "We just know what it is like to need help. Earth's history is full of disasters, plagues, wars. We learned that surviving means working together, even with people we do not like." Later that evening, as the reception wound down, Jinho stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. Hana found him there. "Thinking deep thoughts?" she asked. "Thinking about how weird life is," Jinho said. "A year ago I was nobody, just a cargo pilot with allergies. Now I am supposed to represent all of humanity to the galaxy." "You represent us well," Hana said. "You show them that humans are not perfect warriors or super geniuses. We are just people who keep going even when we are uncomfortable. That is more impressive than they realize." "I just hope we can keep it up," Jinho said. "There will be other challenges, other problems. We cannot solve everything with allergies and determination." "Maybe not," Hana agreed. "But it is a good start." Back in the council chambers, the cleaning staff found the box of tissues Jinho had left on the podium. The head custodian, a being from a species that communicated through color changes, picked up the box carefully. It was labeled, "Emergency Human Aid Kit. Use when hope seems lost." The custodian decided to place it in a display case in the council museum. It would sit there alongside historical artifacts from the founding of the council, symbols of peace treaties and weapons that had been turned into art. A simple box of tissues, representing the day humanity taught the galaxy that survival is not about being the strongest or the smartest. Sometimes survival is about enduring discomfort and choosing to help others anyway. In his quarters, Jinho Park sneezed one more time before going to bed. Tomorrow he would meet with trade delegations. Next week he would attend a memorial for scourge victims. The month after that he would visit Earth and try to explain to his family how he became an ambassador. But tonight he was just tired. His allergies were bothering him, and somehow, impossibly, he was now responsible for representing humanity to the entire galaxy. He pulled out his bottle of antihistamines and took 2 pills. Then he set his alarm and went to sleep. Outside his window, the stars shone bright. Somewhere in that darkness, humans were still working. Doctors treating patients, scientists studying new threats, volunteers helping rebuild destroyed worlds. All of them sneezing, complaining about being uncomfortable and doing the work anyway. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not strength, not immunity, not even bravery, just the stubborn refusal to let discomfort stop them from doing what was right. And in a galaxy that had faced extinction, that was enough.